Hello, how you doing today? My name is Jeremy Heron, and this is my trauma explanation summary for our Treating Trauma 664 class. Today I'll be working with a gentleman named John. John's a 28-year-old combat veteran who's experiencing some symptoms of PTSD as well as managing some emotions from losing his mother when he was deployed. So I'm going to begin. John, how are you today? I'm doing just fine. Thank you. Thank you for asking. Please come in, have a seat, make yourself comfortable. The bathroom's right outside of the door to the left if you haven't noticed. You're more than welcome at any point to use the bathroom. Let me know. Or if you need to take a break. I also want to let you know that everything is communicated here today is confidential unless it becomes dangerous, or potential danger to yourself or others. So I just wanted to explain that to you. So it says here from my notes that you were in combat in Afghanistan, correct? Okay. And you have experienced some traumatic events that revolved around being in combat. Is that correct? Yeah. And it also says that, you know, when you were deployed, your mother passed away from cancer. Is that correct? Yeah. Yeah, John, that's a lot. That's a lot to manage at one time. You know, I'm sorry you're going through that, but let's see what we can do. Maybe try to get you on the right track to feeling a little bit better. So it says here that you are experiencing some like body sensations that you can't explain. You're having some trouble eating and sleeping. Is that correct? Yeah. So what kind of body sensations are you feeling? Okay, so you're feeling physically ill, is what you're saying. You're physically ill, nervous, anxious. Oh, you feel like you're going to throw up, nervous feeling? Oh, okay. Why do you think that's happening? I know. So that's my job to figure out. I understand that. Okay. Well, to give you a little bit of information on why our body responds the way it does when dealing with trauma, is that when we experience a traumatic event, our body will decode this will encode this information and store it in a memory bank in your body. A lot of times, traumatic information is kind of encoded differently than regular information. And what happens is sometimes they can't decipher which way the language was encoded. They can't figure out, your body cannot process information as in the language that it stored itself in. I know that sounds kind of complicated. So really your body will activate systems in your body that will basically run the system on it experiencing the traumatic event as it was happening. So it's called motoric memory is what it is. And that's processed differently, and there's some philosophies out there that say that our nervous systems kind of get locked. They kind of get stuck and keep us in that moment. So normally, when the encoding is correct, you can kind of place that memory in the narrative memory where you can process it. So, you know, yeah, it may hurt today, it may hurt tomorrow, and 6 months from now it may hurt, but you're becoming accustomed to those feelings, and you're moving on, and you're experiencing new stimuli and new memory. It kind of helps us move on through some of that stuff. So, you know, when the information is locked in there, you kind of get stuck in that flight or flight mode, which it can be coined as hyperarousal. So I know you said before that you're having problems in some social settings and things like that, feeling nervous, feeling hypervigilant of things. Yeah, that's all normal, and it's something that's typically being in your mind, but physiologically your body is running that system. So I know a lot of people say, "Oh, I can't control it." Yeah, well, you can't control it because mentally you can't tell your body. You can't make sense of it. They can't communicate. Is basically what is happening there. And that's, believe it, I know it sucks, but this is not the end of the world. There's some techniques that that are really showing signs of evidence of helping people switch these traumatic memories into a narrative memory. And sometimes they happen in one or two sessions. It's called eye movement desensitization or desensitivity reprocessing. There's some of the things that we can do with that can kind of help you transition. We can help you transition some of these stored memories over to your narrative. So there's some techniques that we can do with that. I'll explain those to you. Probably our next session, we'll talk about that if you're interested. And a lot of people, like I said, there's some evidence stating that that's really helping people get over these physiological manifestations of symptoms of trauma. So we can try that. And I want to talk to you a little bit about your mother passing away too, because that's also can produce the same kind of a memory bank as that you witnessed in your with combat trauma. So it says here that you did communicate that you were feeling some sadness, helplessness, hopelessness, and it says here you used to be very active, which I said kayaking, surfing, like to play music, things like that. Is that correct? Okay. Have you done any of those? No. Okay, well, to touch base on that, there's this could fall under like some cognitive behavioral therapy stuff, John, which is going to be us trying to get you to re-engage in behaviors that essentially have made you happy in the past. Because we've all been there as far as, not getting out and doing what we think is fun, whatever your hobby may be, whether it be gardening or fishing, things like that. Sometimes we shy away from these things, and they're very, very important parts of our life that we should not be ignoring. I know sometimes we get into that mode where, I'm not in the mood to go fishing today, or I'm not in the mood to go ride my bike. Well, it's very important to try not to get stuck in that rut, because these are the things that, again, like I was speaking before, have physiological effects that, we don't necessarily see. So it's very, very important that we get back into doing what has essentially made us happy outside of the daily grind, So, that also being said, have you thought about maybe going to a group or speaking to some other people that are, no, okay, so you haven't thought about that. Okay. Why? Oh, you just haven't. So it's not that you're averse to it. You just haven't went and... Okay. Well, maybe this is something that we can look into. Because there might be some people out there. I know that you said you felt alone in some situations. So maybe there's some other people you can sit down and it's probably casual. The ones I've seen have been kind of casual. It's not like you're going to get put on the spot and like tell your story. I think it's people are very receptive on how you want to tell your story and how the information in your background comes out. You know what I mean? So I think that might be an option that we should look into. Maybe you can go to a support group, and you don't have to pour your heart out if you don't want to, or if that's how you feel. We'll just take it day by day. And then we'll go from there. That being said, I really think that you should try to ride your bike a little bit. I know you said you liked riding your bike and things like that. Try to, get your mind off some of the things that you've been fixated on, as well as let your body also respond positively from that as well. So, these are some of the things we can talk about. In our next session, we can talk about the EMDR if you want to do that, to kind of try to switch some of these. I'll try to get you away from having these body sensations. We can try that. And your homework before the next time I see you, John, is, maybe you should ride your bike. I want you to go ride your bike a day or two. Maybe take your kayak out. I know you said you like kayaking. So maybe you should try one thing that you used to find happy or used to make you happy. I want you to do it at least one time before we speak again, and we can revisit the EMDR. Like I said, to try to help you transition some of your things that are making you feel hyper aroused. We're going to try to start the process of transferring that to your narrative memory. So maybe we can start putting some of these things essentially behind us a little bit. And I think maybe with going to some of these groups, I think that might also help you facilitate some of that stuff. So while we're going to the narrative, you can also kind of tell your story to people who may have had similar been in similar situations as you, and maybe collectively between myself, you, and maybe some of your peers, we can start trying to make sense of some of this stuff and some of the things that are bothering you, and start moving away from it towards a more positive place. Same thing with dealing with some things with your mom. Maybe we can address some of that, start switching that into the narrative. And I don't mean like, oh, we're going to let's forget mom. You know, I don't mean that. Not at all. So we're going to maybe try to make some sense of that and see where we're going to pick the pieces up and where we're going to go from here with that. But I think that staying active and engaging in things that used to make you happy and centered and balanced, we all need to be centered and balanced in some way. And both sides of the table, John. There's a lot of things that I need to do myself to, try to stay centered and stay balanced and stay focused. So it's a maintenance. It's a maintenance thing. It's a system that we have to maintain. It's very complicated. It's intricate. There's certain things that we can do that manipulate our system, that some are very positive, and some are negative. So there's some of the things that I would like to do, would like to work with you on, and we can go from there. I understand that it can be very confusing why your body's having reactions to things that you can't understand. But we're going to try to make some, we're going to try to get you to understand some of this. And we'll go from there. So that being said, John, it was very, very nice to meet you. I'm looking forward to working with you. And I'm very positive and very confident that we can get you moving in the right direction. So, thank you very much, and I'll see you next week, John.